Welcome to Entrepreneurs International Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. I'm Roger Killen, the organizer. Today, Susan Friedmann is training us on how to make serious money by selling our nonfiction books in bulk. Susan, I have 3 questions for you. Number 1, what's the biggest challenge you've ever had to overcome?
The biggest challenge I've ever had to overcome was when Wiley had my book, Meeting and Event Planning for Dummies, and right at the very last minute decided that they weren't going to go to press with it because there was an incident called 9/11, and they said that nobody would be interested in meeting and events. And I took 6 months to prove them wrong, and they ended up publishing the book, and it's still going strong. And it came out in 2003. So I'm still getting royalties from it.
Well, that's
so it was one of those David and Goliath situations, and David definitely slew Goliath.
Susan, if you could move a wee bit back from the camera.
Yes.
There
this?
There we go. It's better. I guess the camera will adjust now to.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. What impact would you like to have on planet Earth in the course of your lifetime?
I want to see that authors who have got a book, that it does make a difference in the world. And if I can have 1,000 nonfiction authors whose books make a difference, then I would be so happy.
Well, let's see if we can't make that happen together.
Yeah.
And the 3rd and final question, what is one of your favorite quotes and why?
One of my favorite quotes is by Johann Goethe. What you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And anytime that I feel things aren't going quite the way I want them to, I remind myself of that quote, and it really helps. It lifts my spirits.
Good for you. I've always wondered how you pronounced his name, but thank you. You've clarified that. Now, attendees, would you please turn on your video? This is really to engage Susan. It gets awfully lonely when you're the speaker and you look at a bunch of black boxes. So please give her a hand, turn on your video. Number 2, stay muted and type your questions into the chat. About every 10 minutes, I'll ask Susan if I can pose your questions to her. Assuming she says yes, you'll get your question answered then. Number 3, you're going to be sent a link to the recording of Susan's talk in a couple of hours. But I nevertheless encourage you to take notes, because the very act of taking notes is going to increase what you absorb, and by as much as 25 to 30%. Susan, are you ready to wow us with your wisdom?
I'm ready to share my wisdom. I will let our participants decide whether it's a wow.
Well, you take it away. The stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Roger. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Friends, new friends, some of my clients. Thank you. And making serious money selling your nonfiction book in bulk. Well, we're going to talk about a lot of different things today. And as Roger said, please do have something to write with, type with, because I'm going to be posing questions throughout this session too, that I would like you to at least consider what how what we're talking about will affect you and how you can use some of the information that I'm going to share. So we're going to, in a moment, talk about two essential book marketing concepts. However, before we can get to these two things, which are critical to everything that we're going to talk about today, I want to talk about 3 book marketing traps that so many authors fall into. And I want to make sure that you're not falling into those traps, because if you are, then the 2 book marketing concepts that we're going to talk about are not going to work for you. So first and foremost, those of you who've heard me before and who've been on this program before know that one of the questions when people come to Aviva Publishing, which is my hybrid publishing house, I ask them, who is your book for? And I think that if I just asked you, you might tell me that there is this tendency for people to say that your book is for everyone. Well, I've got news for you. Yes, it might be. However, the question is, how are you going to market to everyone? You may have a universal message. I never doubt that. The question again is, how are you planning to market that? Because not even the greats of the great, you know, the Procter & Gamble, the Nikes of this world, the IBMs, I mean, all the huge companies don't even try and market to everyone. So why, you know, are we trying to do that when, you know, we can't? We just can't. You're completely off target if you try and do that. And so that's a key to what we are going to be talking about in a moment, is the actual targeting of your book. So the second trap is no investment in marketing. I see authors, when they're writing their book, they put money into a book writing coach. They put money into the cover of their book. They put money into the layout of the book. And then when it comes to marketing, there's nothing left. So my invitation to you is, if you do not have a budget for marketing, you absolutely need to, because there's a certain amount of publicity that you can do for free, but you don't want to rely on that. And those of you who know me know that don't rely on this group either. Amazon is a wonderful place to post your book. Yes, your book should be on Amazon. Why? Because everybody expects it to be. However, Amazon is merely a shop window. It's not going to sell your book for you. So please don't sit back and think that, hey, you know, my book's on Amazon now, I don't need to do anything else. Because yes, you do. And yes, there are ads, Google ads and Amazon ads and Facebook ads. Yes, if you want to, you know, invest some money in that, fine. However, again, these are all what I call drips. And you have to have a lot of drips to fill up the bathtub. So never rely on one source for your marketing. Marketing is a very inexact science. and it changes all the time. You've got A plus B might equal C one day and D the next and E the next. You know, it's an art and a science. So there are things that work, there are things that perhaps work one time but not another, because things change, events change, time changes. Just like I told you about the Wiley book. You know, everything was hunky-dory until 9/11 happened. Did I have any, you know, I couldn't control that. That was outside of my control. And there are lots of other things that happen that are outside of our control. So know that, bear that in mind, and never, as I say, in marketing, rely on one particular way, that this is the silver bullet. I'm afraid that's not the case, because I have yet to find that silver bullet. Maybe some of you know of it. I don't, but please, you know, be willing to share that. And another trap is doubt. Doubting that once your book is out, oh my goodness, you know, this is a real thing. People are going to see it. Oh, they're going to judge it. Am I good enough? They're going to critique it. Oh, I don't know how much I want to put that book out there. So there's that doubting factor. And again, those of you who have heard me before know I talk about the imposter syndrome, that's one element of the fears that you might have, that you're a fraud, that you're an imposter with your information, even though at the time when you went to write your book, you thought, hey, this is good enough. I've got great stuff that I want to share. And we wouldn't be writing books if we didn't feel that way about our information. However, is it good enough? Why not? You put it out there. You've probably captured some of your own expertise or something that's worked for you. You've seen work, you've worked with people, it's worked, it's a process, it's a system. And yes, why not put it out there? I love this cartoon. Let's try it once without the parachute. So it's all about that confidence factor and feeling confident about, in fact, everything that around your book. Yeah, you wrote this book. It's important. You've got important information to share with people. So take a moment and write in the chat, how many of you have fallen into at least one of these traps? And you don't necessarily have to say which one, but you could if you want to. So just write in the chat, have you fallen into any one of these traps? I tell you, I have. I've doubted myself many times. I've doubted my information.
Susan,
yes.
Am I correct in assuming that we are not supposed to be seeing slides?
You are not seeing slides?
Are we supposed to be seeing slides?
Absolutely. Are you not?
No, we are not.
Oh, wow. We may need to start again, Roger.
Well, the fact that I didn't catch on until a few seconds ago means that we don't have to start again.
But I've got all these great slides that people could have to see. Oh, I'm embarrassed now. Okay, you see, it happens to the best of us. Okay, so let's share the screen. And what's happened now? Are we sharing the screen? Can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah. But yes, all is good now.
All's good. Okay. So, okay. Here's the cartoon. Oh dear. Okay. So, how many of these traps have you fallen into? Do we have people who've said any one of them?
Everyone's just breathing a sigh of relief now that the slides are here.
Good. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. And if you'd like to see the rest of the slides, I can definitely show them to you afterwards, because there were some great slides, but hey. Just imagine them. You can put your own pictures to those slides. Just imagine them.
I've just given people your contact information in the chat. So if they want to reach out to you for the slides, they can do so, right?
I will definitely share at least those beginning ones, yes. Oh dear. Okay, so I was looking at the slides. They were really good as I was talking. So I hope everybody could imagine that as well. Okay, so let's start. Did we have any people who've had fallen into those traps, Roger?
Nancy says, I have had some doubts, and engaging a publicist is worth my investment. And if so, how long before the publicist's help turns into sales?
That's one of those. I worked in PR, and the thing with PR is you never can tell. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee unless you know specifically that you have a great relationship with people in the media who are going to definitely post material for you. So yeah, it's a tough one. There's no guarantees with PR, no guarantees, not that I know of. If someone knows somebody who can guarantee, I know John was talking about earlier, Steve Harrison's, he's got a lot of media contacts, but still then there's no guarantees. Sorry, Nancy. What else?
That's it.
Thank you, by the way.
There's no further questions.
Okay, good. Well, let's start talking about essential concepts now that you can see the slides. So, okay, so let's talk about two. Roger, can you take over the admit, please? Because I've still got that coming up. I don't know if you can handle that for me.
I'm handling that. Just ignore that and go on.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let's look at focus, which is such a key element when it comes to these two concepts. And we talked about being off target. Now we are looking to get on target. So how are we going to do that? There are two main book marketing concepts that I believe are at the core of everything that I'm going to share with you. The one is who, and that is who is your book for, and then what? What is the message that you are conveying? Now, both of these are key to everything that we're going to go into now as I go through this process. So the who. So it's all about what I call niche marketing or niche marketing, and if you're in the US, but since I'm a Brit and I'm an Anglophile, a Francophile, not an Anglophile, a Francophile, then I love the word niche. So what is niche marketing? Niche marketing is a marketing tactic used to target a specific market segment, which is unique. So let's have a look at what that means. So there's this distinction between target marketing and niche marketing. And in my book, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Target Marketing, I talk to them about them as being what we call kissing cousins. Why? Because they're similar, but different. So here we have in the circle 4 quadrants. And in each one of those quadrants is a target market. However, each one of those targets in and of itself is huge. And it's really difficult to market to a huge target. So we want to try and narrow it down to make it more efficient and effective for us to be able to market to them. So how do we do that? So we start cutting and dicing and slicing that pie. So instead of having 4 pieces of the pie, now we have what, 8, 10, 12 pieces of the pie. If you cut it even further, you have what we call micro niches. So let me give you an example. So let's take our target, let's say, for women. So here we have a target market of women. So within that category, we could perhaps target female teachers or female entrepreneurs or female baby boomers or millennials or seniors or corporate people, you know, females in the corporate environment. However, let's say we wanted to focus on healthcare professionals. Now, still, each one of these is a target, and it's still big. It's still very big for us to wrap our hands around and to market effectively and efficiently. So let's focus in on those healthcare professionals. So under those healthcare professionals, perhaps we're looking at nurses or administrators or doctors, therapists, dentists, hygienists. But let's decide that we want to focus on female chiropractors. So now, if you're getting the picture, we're getting smaller and smaller, and female chiropractors are a lot easier to start targeting than, you know, a larger group. However, I could say that I wanted to micro niche this, and it would be, let's say, female chiropractors in the state of New York, or in the state of California, or in British Columbia. So we're really honing in on a much smaller market. And as I said, it's going to make it easier for us to get our hands around it and to be able to market to this group. And this is essential when we start looking at how can we sell the books in bulk. I haven't got away from this yet. We're just looking at how we're going to do this, because as I said, it's not about putting these books on Amazon. It's a whole different strategy. So this is the who. Any questions on the who? Roger, do we have any questions as it relates to the who?
You've been so thorough that that you have no questions.
Well, hopefully that is the case. Great. Okay. So let's look at having you write down, and if you want to type it in, who is your niche market? Who is your niche market? Do you have anybody typing theirs into the chat, Roger?
Other than me, mine is authentic experts. There's HR types, consultants, anyone seeking a purpose-based career, newcomers to Vancouver, USA, self-employed professionals, service-based who hate to sell, women entrepreneurs who want to make a lot more money doing what they love, millennials in Canada, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Christian single men, micro business owners and solopreneurs, US-based college placement officers.
Okay. So the question always is, how are you going to find these people? So that's going to be very important as well. When you start thinking about that niche, some of those niches are real niches. Some still might need to be narrowed in a little further. So let's now have a look at the other concept, and that is the what. And the what is all about your message. What is the core message that you are taking out to the marketplace with your book? And there are three questions when it comes to your message. And I'd love you to answer these questions for yourself. What do you want to be known for? Why is your message important? And then what makes you different? Because each one of those questions is going to help set you apart. And if you know how you can set yourself apart in your marketplace, that is going to be key when it comes to selling the books. So please take time, write down those questions. Maybe you can do a screenshot of this, because if you're not doing it now, then please take the time afterwards to do it, because it's really essential for you to be able to answer those questions. So if I was to answer these questions, for instance, what do I want to be known for? I want to be known for being able to take unknown authors to be expert authorities in their niche market. Why is my message important? My message, I believe, is important because there are far too many titles that are landing up in the sea, getting lost in the tsunami of titles out there, and they get buried at sea. And it's unfortunate because there are exceptional books that just never see the light of day. And then what makes me different? So I believe what makes me different is focusing my target audience on their niche market and how we can look at penetrating that niche market to find where there are opportunities for revenue, revenue generating opportunities. So I hope that each of you can do this for yourself. Okay, so let's move on and look at two other marketing strategies. And these aren't necessarily book marketing strategies, but actual marketing strategies. And I've taken a little bit of license to fit them to our situation here. So the first one is, before I get to that, I'm going to be sharing, by the way, in a moment, ways that you can repurpose your book. However, I've put together a 125-point checklist of profitable income streams for authors. If you'd like a copy of this, please type your email address into the chat and I'll be sending that to you. So pop that in the chat. This was a little segue, and I forgot I added this in here. Okay, so let's look at the marketing concept or marketing strategy, and it's called a downstream marketing. So there's two concepts. One is called downstream, and guess what the other one is? It's upstream. So one's going with the flow of water and the other one is going in the opposite direction. So let's have a look what that actually means. And so I put together this little graphic to try and help understand it. So your business, your whatever your situation, you are bang there in the middle. Your downstream are people who refer business to you. So for instance, in my publishing business, the people who refer people to me are, let's say, writing coaches, ghostwriters, consultants, coaches. These are people who refer business to me. Now, on the upstream, those are people who I want to do business with. And this is where you look at partnership opportunities. Now, this is getting a little, now bear with me because this gets a little bit intricate, but you'll get the drift when I start showing you an example of how I did it for myself, and talk about some other people I've been working with and what they've been doing. So when you look, and we're going to focus on the upstream, and that is the partnership opportunities. Now I've put together, and I'll share this in the chat afterwards, Roger. I've got a PDF of this so people can have it and they can fill it in for themselves. So right at the top, you put in what your niche market is. Then the next level down, you're looking at, and I'm going to give you an example of this, but I'm just explaining it up front and then I'll give you an example. So bear with me. So below are people who are what we call direct suppliers. And these are people, companies primarily, because that's where the money is, who would be interested in your target audience, but are not competitors, but rather you can work in sync together. And as I said, I'll give you examples of this in a moment. And then indirect suppliers or vendors. And let me give you some examples because then it'll sort of clarify this more for you. So let's take the example in the pet industry. So let's say my target audience are pet owners. And I have a book. And my book might be of value to veterinarians who have got the same target audience as me. Or let's say pet food companies or pet supply stores. I've got a client I've worked with who actually got sponsored by a pet store company, and she goes around the country speaking on because they sponsor her to do that. And so there are different, and as you can see, the level below that. So all of these people are people who have got money who may well be interested in your book. So let me give you my example and how it worked for me. So I was in the exhibiting industry, the trade show industry, and I was doing trade show training. And my target audience were exhibitors at trade shows. And when my first book that came out, and I'm going to show you that in a moment, Exhibiting at Trade Shows, Tips and Techniques for Success, I did not want to sell this book in onesies and twosies. I wanted to sell this book in bulk. So I thought about, well, who else has my target audience and complements what I offer. And if any of you are aware of the trade show industry, first of all, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But I looked at, well, and this is going down on that first row, I looked at, well, who is really interested in the same audience as me? And show organizers. Obviously, exhibitors are their bread and butter. Display houses, those are the people who make the exhibits and that exhibitors use. And then promotional products. So those were the main companies at the top of my list. And then if I went down, they could be consultant companies, transportation companies, which was an interesting one and could have been a potential opportunity. Lead management companies, internet companies. I was looking for who has got deep pockets, who might well be interested in my book. So let's go and have a look at that. So take a note of this question because I want you to think about who might be your upstream. Because this is where the money is going to come with your book and being able to sell it in bulk. So think about that for yourself. And as I said, I will give you in the chat, I'll give you that graphic so that you can fill it in for yourself, knowing who your niche market is and then who might be interested. And it takes some thought process. It may not come straight away. And I'm definitely interested in chatting with you about helping you find that for yourself. And I'll tell you more about that at the end of the session. So let's have a look at how I sold 500,000 copies of my first book. First book, exhibiting at trade shows, tips and techniques for success. Not exactly, a book that you're going to think, oh, this is a best-selling book. I'm going to find it on the New York Times bestseller list. No. And, most of you wouldn't be interested in this book at all. However, guess who was interested in this book? Exhibitors at trade shows. So I thought about the fact, well, where are the deep pockets here? And when I thought about that in my graphic, as I showed you, I thought about the exhibitor, the display companies. Display companies, they've got deep pockets. So I went to what's known as a custom exhibit house, and they produce exhibits that cost $250,000, $500,000, $1 million. These are these huge exhibits. They go to international shows. Sometimes they're on 2 levels. It's like a house that they build on a trade show floor for a short period of time, for the length of the show. So I found this company, Exhibit Group, and I said, would you like my book to give to your clients? They loved the idea. So we had the cover customized for them. The only difference between my book and the book that was for them was the cover. And then on the inside cover is a letter from the president of the company, of the Exhibit Group company. Everything else about the book was exactly the same. So they ordered 2,000 copies of the book. So I thought, hey, I'm onto a good thing here. So I thought, well, who else would be interested in this book? And I thought, well, hey, there's the custom market, and then there's what's known as the portable exhibit market. So I went to a company that I had been doing some business with, and And I said, would you be interested in this book? And they said, well, it's too expensive. So we came up with the idea of doing a slightly smaller version of the book. And we did this book, Tips and Techniques for Exhibiting Success. Same material, different formatting, just to make it smaller and more affordable. So they took this book, they loved it so much that they bought 250,000 copies of the book, and they translated it into 5 languages. And what they did with this was they gave this book as a lead magnet to entice clients to purchase their exhibits. So they liked this technique so much that they came back to me a couple of years later and they said, could we redo this book in a slightly different format? And so we did, and we came up with 120 ways to successful exhibiting. And they translated this one into German, and they also bought another 250,000 copies of this book. And there was meant to be 250,000. So all of this is as a result of the first book. Same material, just formatted in a slightly different way.
Susan, are you open to a question about?
I am definitely open to questions, Roger.
Marco is asking, can you please elaborate more on the concept of upstream marketing?
So what I was showing you, this idea of finding a company who would be interested in your book, just like I found the exhibit display companies. That is what is called upstream marketing. So hopefully, Marco, does that make sense?
Marco might be confused. What makes a company upstream versus downstream?
Right. Downstream is referring business to you, and that's the downstream. And then the upstream are opportunities where you can work with companies, where you can be, they could sponsor you, they can buy your books. I've got a client, she works in the real estate market, and she has a mortgage company who sponsor her to go around the country, and they pay her to speak around the country, and they buy her books to give out to people interested in her subject matter. She specializes in one area. So yes, so that's the upstream opportunities. I understand it is slightly confusing to understand. However, if you think, and this is why I would love to talk to some of you who are interested on a one-on-one, and we can maybe do some hot seats, Roger. I would be open to that, and see if we can find some ideas for people to find out how they could possibly use their book.
Okay. Question from Lauren. Whenever you did the deal with the upstream companies, did you retain the copyright on the content of your book?
Yes.
You offered it? Yes, you did.
Yes.
Question.
It's my material. Don't ever give that up, folks.
Question from Erica. Was it a direct or indirect company who used your book as a lead magnet? I think it was a direct or indirect sales company who used your book as a lead magnet.
Well, it was the direct company because it was Nomadic Display. They bought the books. So it was a direct link from me to them, and they used that book as a lead magnet. That was the purpose of them purchasing the books.
Erica has a sequel question. Also, did you get leads from their clients? So the
No,
Upstream had a client? No? Okay.
no, not directly, no.
No further
But that was okay because that not necessarily was what I was looking for. My relationship was with the display company. I did go to their trade shows and I did, support them, and they paid me for that. But I wasn't necessarily looking for their clients as companies, as clients, but I could have.
Okay, and final question. Are you okay to tell us how much profit you made on the sale of each of your bulk sale books?
I don't think it's relevant.
Okay, no further questions.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, great questions. So it's thinking about your book in different ways, in ways in which you can use it and to, as I said, think about selling in larger quantities. And I call it repurposing your information. Like, for instance, the same information, I created what are called anthologies or compilation books. And again, this was all in the trade show market that I created the Secrets of Successful Exhibiting, where I invited other people to come in and be part of a book that I put together, and then they got 1,000 copies of the book and distributed it out to their clients. And we did this 3 times. I put together a little mini series of, again, information all from the same book, just repurposed in different ways. I did it with checklists and tip sheets. So there are many different ways that you can think about repurposing your book. I just would love you to think about this in a whole different way. So for instance, here are some different ways that your book can be used. It can be used as a trade show giveaway. If you become sponsored by a company and you're their spokesperson, they can buy books for everyone. Speaking engagements, everyone in the audience should have a copy of your book. Maybe the meeting planner will purchase books for everyone and give them out. You can, or you find a sponsor. Every organization has sponsors. Those are people who may well be interested in your book. Attendee gifts, the same idea. When you have speaking, that it can be given away to attendees. It could be used as a course book. I've got clients whose books are used as textbooks for different courses. I've got one client, she's in the healthcare market. She works with the nursing environment, and they use her book as a textbook for their courses. It can be given as a holiday gift, company holiday gift. You could create an anthology like I did with the Secrets of Successful Exhibiting. You could do that, and I'd be more than happy. That's a whole other conversation, but if that's something you'd be interested in, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Corporate training. Your book can be used for corporate training programs or as lead magnets. These are just some ideas. And then if you put your email address in the chat, I will send you that 125 checklist of different ideas of how you can either have different income streams or how you can also use your book for different ideas. Lots of different ideas.
Susan, I have an accumulation of 5 questions.
5 questions. Let's go for it, Roger.
You need to be short and sharp with your answers.
Okay. Yes, we're running out of time.
What if other authors imitated my title? Can I get a trademark to protect my book title?
No, you can't get a trademark on a title. However, if you coin a word and it's a unique word, like I coined the word nichepreneur or nichepreneur when I wrote my Riches and Niches, How to Make It Big in a Small Market, I was able to trademark that name.
If I have identified HR professionals as the target audience, who would be the industries who are also targeting HR? Payroll
okay.
firms?
The biggest conference in HR is Shurham, and you need to find companies who sponsor Shurham and look at finding a compatibility there. That's a huge organization, and there could be lots of opportunities for you. In fact, somebody just sent me a whole list of contacts in Shurham. So yes.
Have you found more simplicity through upstream marketing versus downstream marketing?
Have I found what? Sorry, Roger.
More simplicity?
It's a whole different field.
Any advice?
Downstream, yes. If you want to work downstream, you're looking at people who would refer people to you. Yes, you can do that. However, the opportunities for selling books is all in the upstream, I believe.
Any advice about the speaker circuit, particular speaker bureaus or firms you recommend?
There are lots out there. I'd have to have a personal conversation with you about that. That's a huge, that's a $64,000 question, but it's a great question.
Any ideas for accounts receivable / finance ways to sell books?
I don't know what that means. Sorry.
Okay, no further questions. D. Bowden, would you please elaborate on your question?
Okay. Well, as we bring this to a close, the important thing to remember is that you are an expert and your information is helping show that you have credibility and expertise in your marketplace. And I love this quote from the Dalai Lama: just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. And I believe that. And it's all in your niche market, and it's all wrapped up in the message that you give. Takeaways: we've looked at 3 marketing traps to avoid, the essential author marketing strategies and how to use them, and 9 ways to sell your book in bulk. So as we hit on the hour, Roger, look at this. This is really good timing, huh? I've got an offer for everyone, and that is a 20-minute book selling brainstorm call with me. If you're interested, it's brainstormwithsusan.com. Schedule your time with me. But please, if you do that, I would love you to be serious about that conversation. I'm giving up my time for you. I've had a few people from this session who have made appointments and not kept them. So please keep them with me if you want to speak. I as much as I honor you, I would like you to honor me as well. So now it's open to more questions, Roger.
Dee says, in the talk you shared 9 ways to sell info in bulk, looking at how to niche down in this area. Dee, that's still confusing. Why don't you unmute and and articulate your question to Susan.
Okay. Hi, Susan. This is Dee. So quick question. I'm in the finance and business to business collections area. So I was trying to figure out, based on what you said, how to take that information and put it into your 9 blocks. That's basically, I wasn't looking for a complete answer, but just I was looking for like one thing. So for example, you had the trade show, and then you had all the other squares. So I'm taking collections or accounts receivable and trying to figure out how it can fit into the 9 other squares. Does that help? That's what I was looking for. I hope that makes sense.
The financial market is huge, and you'd have to look at what part of the financial market you were really interested in, and then book a session with me. brainstormwithsusan.com. I would love to talk to you and brainstorm some ideas about what companies might fit, your book and the message that you're looking to put out there in the marketplace.
Okay, great. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. Are there any final questions?
I would love to hear from people out there. I mean, Katrina, did you want to add anything to what I've said? You're such an expert in this area. I'm thrilled that you're on the call.
Hi, Susan. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, you definitely know how to get into sell it into the masses. I think, in looking at some of the chat notices, some people are still on the fence about even writing a book. And so in the first place, I would say, hurry up and get a book done. Get the easiest book done as fast as possible. And it can be a chapter in a compilation. I have 14 compilation books and 2 regular books. It doesn't matter. You can get on TV, you get publicity, you can do all kinds of things when you finally have a book. So the fastest one possible, it gets addicting the more you want to write. And there was someone that had a series in them. Great. Just do the first one though. Get the first one done. Right. And then worry about the second one later.
Get the first one done. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the series will come. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Is it profitable?
Who's asking that?
Marie.
Yeah.
Is it
why
profitable?
Shouldn't it be? Yeah, why not? I mean, don't rely on book sales. Speaking is the most profitable part of this business. Speaking, training, the more you can get out there, the better.
Yeah, I don't make a lot of money on the books. In fact, I give most of my books away because when people read them, they hire me for coaching, and $10 or $20 or $30,000 later, a book has made me a lot of money. So when you use it in that way, now if you're writing children's books or novels or something else, that's a little different, right? But if you're writing a book to help grow your business, you have to make it so people want what you've got after the book. And you have to position your book in that way and seed things through the book so that they'll come over to your website and go buy your other stuff. Right?
Exactly.
So it's a strategy that it all has to flow together.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
But surely it's not unreasonable that you can make $1 a book when you're selling a couple of 100,000 books.
Oh, you can make more than that, Roger. I mean, when authors publish through Aviva Publishing, I mean, they have full rights over the book. A book sells for, let's say, $19.95, and it costs, let's say, $4 or $5 to produce. I mean, the rest is profit. So yeah, I mean, and I've sold books for $5, $10 a piece. You can, when you're in charge of that, you can negotiate different pricing structure. Mm-hmm. So yes, but don't think that necessarily that the book is going to make you the money. It can be that you make money with it, but as I said, the more you can get out there and speak or do training, the better that's going to be for you.
Lovely.
And what if that book would get picked up as potentially a movie? How does that
Right.
play?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, again, it could be, and that could launch your career. Again, don't rely on it. You've got to have the contacts there. I've got authors who have had screenplays written as a result of their book. I've yet to have one that's turned actually into a movie, but I know people who have got books who have turned it into a movie. But again, that's, you know, again, I don't know your story. I don't know how exciting it would be for someone to make a movie out of that. And that's all very long term.
Bill Fitzgerald wants to know, so you do publishing and book marketing, question mark?
Yes. You and I've got to talk together, Bill, don't we? Is it you? Is it the same Bill?
Okay, I'm going to wrap things up now because we got to move on.
Yeah.
Agenda. Susan, on behalf of EIN, again, you've really taken a very complicated whole subject and you've simplified it.
I hope so.
So that even an old brain like mine can get it. On behalf of EIN, I thank you hugely. Great stuff. Well done, Susan.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I know some of you, again, brainstorm with Susan. If you'd like to have a talk with me, you know, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. It's literally brainstorming ideas. If you'd like to work with me, you know, if it's the right fit, then absolutely. I know I've spoken to some people. Serena, you and I discussed this, didn't we? We discussed this idea. She's a pharmacist, a retired pharmacist, and she's got books. She could focus on the healthcare environment, the pharmaceutical industry, maybe equipment companies. They've got deep pockets. You've got to look for where they've got deep pockets, and it's thinking differently about all of this. So yeah,